The very hungry caterpillar. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up and pop! Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through 5 oranges, but he was still hungry. On Saturday, he ate through 1 piece of chocolate cake, 1 ice cream cone, 1 pickle, 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 slice of salami, 1 lollipop, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 sausage, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of watermelon. That night, he had a stomachache. The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through 1 nice green leaf, and after that, he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and he was a beautiful butterfly. Hi, so today we are going to have a look at joining our letters and our writing together to make it flow really well. It makes it a bit quicker to write as well. But just when we get good at it, to start with, it can take a lot of time. It can be quite challenging, but long term, it does make our writing quicker. Now, this is going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour of joining because 15 minutes is not a very long time, and in order to get great at this, you would have to go away and put some effort and time into practicing, but this is sort of like the basics of things that you need to know. Now, there is a way of forming your letters that is called precursive, and it has the lead in and it has a lead out, and it makes the then joining process just really natural. But precursive in itself is not a particularly natural way to write. So I am going to look at the groups of letters and how the letters are formed, and then we will have a look at break letters and the different types of joins, and we'll have a play around with it in the 15 minutes that we've got. But before we get into the actual joining, let's have a look at creating those letters precursively, so with a lead in and a lead out, which will help with our joining. So to start with, I would always start with long ladder letters because they're the easiest ones to master. In there, we've got the likes of L, I, T, U, Y, and J. And we are going to start in exactly the same way. So for this, you want to imagine a line on your page. We're always going to start with our lead in on that line. For these letters, we are going to lead in, up, down, and out. So what we're aiming for is a teeny tiny triangle in between the line going up and the line coming back down. So I will do it on a board that I can show you a little bit closer. What you're aiming for, look, is a teeny tiny triangle in between those. What you don't want, you want to be coming up and down in the same space. So up and down on the same space. You don't want it to be like this. You don't want it to be really, really wide because this doesn't look like a letter. And you also don't want to be coming back down and round the same way. Otherwise, again, you don't have the letter. So we have to make sure we come up and then we come down the same line and we flip round to this way. So that's L. And from L, we can form lots of the other long ladder letters. So we can form T because we literally just do the L. We go start on the line, in, up, down and round. And then to turn it into a T, we just cross it. We can form I because we do in and up, but just a little bit. So in, up, down and round. And then a dot on the top. And then J, we do it exactly the same, but this time we come down and we go under the line and round and the dot on top. And U and Y are formed slightly differently. So we go in and up just a little bit, but then we come down and round and under. And then exactly the same for Y. We do in and then down and under. And this bit here sits on the line like this. So these are all of our long ladder letters. So if we're practicing doing those, then we are leading in, up, down and back round, and then that's the same. So that's an action that is really important. So for these, it's the in, up and down that's super important to practice. Hang on, I can't do it and not actually look at what I'm doing. So I would spend a good chunk of time practicing that action, and then you can move on to turning that into the other letters, because once you've got L, the others come relatively easily, and once you've got U, you'll be able to do Y. Once you've got I, you'll be able to do J. They sort of pair up quite nicely. So those are long ladders. These ones are, the next bunch are called zigzag monsters, and again we want the line is useful. But in here we've got V. Now, what's really important to see there is that the lead out for V goes straight out. And it's also the same for W. So lead in and we go up, and then we come down and round and out. And then X, we go up and down, and then we come back and cross it. And then Z, we go up and out, and then we go down, down. So those are the zigzag monster letters. They're all formed in not quite the same way, but they all have that lead in. And then it's important to remember that the lead out for W and V goes straight out, and X and Z don't have one. So those are the zigzag monsters. And then we've got one-armed robot letters. Now, one-armed robot letters require skill within itself. So in a similar way to the ones that we started with, the long ladder ones, these ones require a similar skill. So for this, you have to be able to go in, up, down, and it has to be straight. So in, up, down, because then you're going to go back up and over, or back up and over, or back up and over. So for this one here, the most important skill is that in, up, down, and just practicing getting that. It's not dissimilar to the long ladder, to the L. It's just that it's really important that it is straight. So here in this group of letters, we have R. And here, this is really important to get that top bit. So if I show you on this one, look here. Can you see that it's got a bit that goes above and then it goes over? Because otherwise, if you don't have it, then it doesn't really, here we go, look. It doesn't look like an R, because the R has that hook, but it also has like a little snorkel. So that's quite important to remember with these letters. It's the same with the N and the M and the P as well, all of which are part of this group. So from R, you can get N and M, making sure you come all the way back down to that line. Now, this one is one that is sometimes a bit tricky, because we have to remember to come back down. So it's down, up, round and round. Have to remember to come all the way down to the bottom. And then you've got H, which is formed in a very similar way, but you just go up taller and then straight back down, up and over, making sure that the H is joined to it, so that we go up and then it's just that arch over in exactly the same way as the R. It's just that it's not at the top. And then you've got B. And with B, you're looking for that lead out to be underneath. So we go in and then up and then round like H, but we come all the way round. And then we tickle the bottom of its belly and we come back out. That's quite important. You'll need that in order to join. If you find that really difficult, you can leave it, and you can leave it as a break letter initially, but tickling the bottom of B's belly is the way that you will get that to join. And then you also have P, which is formed in the same way, and we tickle underneath its belly to make it join. It's just that it hangs underneath the line. And then K is a taller letter and then kicks round and kicks out. And then the last group of letters are curly caterpillar letters, and they have a rule set all of their own. So for these, you'll want to start with C, and if I show you here, we lead in, we hook, and then we come back round. So it's a lead in and hook, and then back round. And if you can't get used to stopping and coming back anti-clockwise, then you're not ready to do all of these letters. You need to practice that bit. So the lead in, hook, and then back round, because that is the basis of all of these. So in here we have C, we have A, we have O, which is useful to point out that goes straight out like the V and the W did. We have G, which sits on the line. We have D, which is a tall letter. Q is in here as well. And then S, which is really tricky to get it small enough, because you lead in and you hook, and then the rest of it has to sit back underneath your lead in. And then that's one that when you're feeling confident, you go back underneath and you tickle the belly of it. So look, I'll show you on here. So we go in, and then this has to come back in there, and then we tickle the belly of it in order to get it. You can see mine is a little on the big side. It is a really tricky one to get in. And then also in this group of letters, you've got F, which actually hangs underneath the line, and you've got E, which is up and round. So E is actually formed differently to all of the others. Now from here, we can use this to help us with our joining, because there are a handful of the letters that are what we call break letters. That are letters that we stop at, and then we would start the next letter and we would join from there. But we don't join these letters. So in terms of our break letters, we have X. Because of the way it's formed, it just doesn't make sense. And then the descender ones, so G, F, J, Y. I tend not to join Q because it wouldn't look like anything. And then I don't join R, because I find that when you join R, it looks more like an N. So those are the ones that I would leave as break letters. Now, some people would do it where they would join the Y in the word U, because they would make it curly. That's absolutely your choice, but in terms of making your writing clear and legible, it's much easier to leave it as a break letter. So those ones there are the ones that I would leave, and I would start again. So if I was writing the word fox, then I would have ox, and in actual fact they wouldn't join. Or if I was writing the word joy, then the j wouldn't, and then I would have O and Y joined together. But if I was writing joyful, then the F would start again, and then I would join the U and the L together at the end. So that's what I mean by a break letter. I mean it stops on that letter, and then we can start joining again on the next letter. So all of those break letters, we don't join from there. And then there are a few letters, 3, that join across the top. So we've got O, V, and W, that when we were doing our precursive ones, it came straight out of the top. It didn't lead into the next letter. So if we were joining O's together, we lead in, and then it's across the top, down and round, just like that. And if we were joining V, it would be the same. So V to O would be like that. And W to O would be the same. The join goes across the top rather than anywhere else. So if we were writing the word wood, then we would have W straight out into O, O, and then round into D. W, O, O, D. Okay, so those ones join across the top, and then from there, most of our other letters have a natural underjoin if we form them properly. So if I choose the word cat, then I'm going to go round, under, down, under, round, and cross. It's obviously difficult when I'm trying to do it really big to show you, but they generally join underneath. The same with if we were to write the word pen. So we would have P, and then we tickle the belly of it into the next letter, and round. So generally, if we can master those precursive letters with the lead out, then apart from the break letters and apart from the top join letters, most of them can flow really naturally into an underjoin. So this was very much a whistle stop tour of this is how we go about it, but in actual fact, practice is how we'll get better at it. So have a practice and see how you get on, but leave those break letters broken because it will make your writing clearer. Whatever you do with the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye. Hi, so today we are going to be looking at quarters. Now when we talk about quarters, this is what we are looking at. So 1 of 4 equal parts. So this tells us we just want one of them. This tells us that there are 4 equal parts, and this just means 1 of 4 equal parts. So that hungry caterpillar crawled through lots and lots of fruit and food and did some really good munching. So if we used one of the plums maybe that he went munching through, we've got to split it into 4 equal parts. So I can split it straight down the middle in half, and then I can go across the opposite way and I can make quarters. Now, what's quite important to remember when we're talking about quarters is that these parts have to be equal. So if I was talking about him munching his way through a strawberry, then these parts would not be equal because this is not the same as this. So when we're talking about quarters, we're talking about equal parts. So there are some shapes that are easy to split into quarters, and there are others that are not, that are much, much trickier to split into quarters. So we're going to have a look at splitting some shapes into quarters, and we will have a look at then looking at how we could split numbers into quarters, remembering that we just want to find one of them at the moment. So let's get into it. You'll want something to write with and something to write on. So if you don't have those, then go and grab those. That will certainly be useful for you today to actually have a go at it rather than just seeing it. So we are looking at quarters. Let's write that quarters sign first. So 1 line and then 4 underneath, because 1 of 4 equal parts. If we leave that at the top of our paper or our thing to write on, then that will help us to remember that we've always got to split it into 4 equal parts. So let's start with a nice easy shape. Let's start with a circle. Can you draw me a circle? Or as close to a circle as you can manage. It could be any number of those fruits that you munched through. Lots of them were circles, weren't they? Or even that lollipop was a circle too. And then let's see if we can split that into quarters. So you're going to want to go straight down the middle, and then you're going to be able to go straight across 2. And then you should end up with 4 bits that are all the same, because we can indeed split a circle into quarters. What should we do next? I know, let's do a semicircle. Let's work our way up. So a 2-sided shape. So this time you'll need the arc and then you'll need the line. Can you do a semicircle? And could we split your semicircle into quarters? We'll split it down the middle so we've got halves. And then how do you think that you could, from there, look, could you split each one of those in half again? If you just drew straight across the middle, that wouldn't work, would it? But you could, well done, you could come out this way and make segments. So let me do 1. And then on the other side. There we go. So we can split our semicircle into 4. And then if I just colour in one of them, then I can show that I have 1 quarter. Okay, let's try with a triangle next then. So can you draw a triangle? Remember, a triangle has 3 sides. So have you got your triangle? Brilliant, well done. So draw a line straight down the middle. And then is there a way that we could get equal parts? You could try doing the same as we did before, but no, not really. They're not equal, are they? They're not the same. And we certainly couldn't. Could you go straight across the middle and get equal ones like we did with the... No, they're definitely not equal, are they? So it's very difficult to split a triangle into quarters. Well done. Okay, let's go for a square next. So remember, with a square, all sides are equal. So let's start by drawing our square, and then we will see if we can cut it into quarters. Yeah. I wonder, is there more than one way that you could cut your square into quarters? I think there might be. Look, I found 2 ways. I can split it into quarters and I can end up with little squares, or I can split it into quarters and I can end up with triangles. And if I want to show 1/4 of them, then I have to colour in 1 section. There we go. So that's me showing 1/4 of a square in 2 different ways, as little squares and as triangles. Ooh, well done. That was a tricky one, wasn't it? What about then a rectangle? Can you draw a rectangle? Remember that a rectangle is similar to a square in the fact that it has 4 sides, but all 4 sides are not equal. 2 are longer than the other. Could we split this in the same ways as we split the other one? So we split the other one straight down the middle going down, and then we split it going across as well, didn't we? And then we also did a square where we went from corner to corner, didn't we? I wonder if that works with a rectangle as well. Let's see. Yeah, I did split them into quarters. And then if I want to show 1/4, well done, you remembered, we have to shade in one of the sections, and that shows us that we have 1/4. Otherwise, the shape is just split into quarters, isn't it? It doesn't actually show us 1/4, but once I've shaded one part in, it does show us 1/4. So far, we managed to split the circle and the semicircle into quarters, and we managed to split the square and the rectangle into quarters, but we didn't manage to split the triangle into quarters, did we? I wonder if we had a pentagon. So a pentagon has 5 sides and it's like a house, isn't it? So a bit like this. Do you think we'll be able to split this into quarters? Could you show me 1/4 of this shape? No, well done. You could show me 1/2 of this shape, but not 1/4, because the top and the bottom don't match, don't they? In that case, let's have a go at drawing a hexagon, because the top and the bottom do match, and then you should be able to show me quarters of that one as well. It's a much harder shape to draw because you've got to have 6 sides, but give it a go and see how you get on. You might have to do some rubbing out. I certainly have. Maybe it depends on how we draw it as well. No? Here we go, look. So because my hexagon is the same at the top as it is at the bottom, I can split it into quarters, can split it into 4 equal parts, and there I have shown, there I've shown that we have just got one of them. So the triangle and the pentagon were harder. They had an odd number of sides. So I wonder if we tried to draw another shape then that had an odd number of sides, like a heptagon that has 7 or a nonagon that has 9, would we be able to split it into quarters? I wonder. So far, the only shape with an odd number of sides that we have managed to split into quarters was that circle, which only had 1. Let's try. So either draw me a heptagon with 7 sides or a nonagon with 9 sides, and let's see whether or not we can indeed get that into quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, however I go about doing it, because the top and the bottom don't match, I can't cut those into 4 equal parts. It just won't work. So I think that if I were to do an octagon or a decagon, if I were to do one that had an even number of sides, I think that we could split those into quarters. But that is much harder when it comes to those odd-sided numbers because the top and the bottom don't match. Okay, in the story of the Hungry Caterpillar, he went through lots of different fruits. Now, one of those fruits was a banana. So can we draw a banana? And could we split that banana into quarters? Oh, you're far too smart. Yes, we could split that banana into quarters. They wouldn't be perfect because the top and the bottom are slightly different, but we would split it in the same way as we did the semicircle, wouldn't we? We would split it like that. And they wouldn't be perfect because the top and the bottom bit are slightly different on a banana to the rest of it, but they would be near enough. Oh, I thought I was going to catch you out, but I was not. Okay, so our quarter then, our 1 of 4 equal parts, we can split the shapes up. Even shapes are easier to split into quarters than odd number of sided shapes, but we can do exactly the same with numbers. Now, there are 2 ways that we can go about doing this. So let's do it in the most straightforward. We're just looking at a fraction kind of way. So what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a cross like this. I'm going to use this to help me find a quarter of 8. Okay, so I will write that at the top. 1/4 of 8 equals, here we go, look, 1/4 of 8 equals, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 in each section, and I'm going to carry on going round. So I've got 4 there, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many in each bit? Yeah, exactly, there are 2 in each bit. So 1/4 of 8 equals 2. We can put it in there, look. Oh, hang on, I got caught behind my shoulder. There we go. 1/4 of 8 equals 2. So that's a really, really straightforward way that we could find a quarter of a number. And I quite like that as a given method because I just remember quarter, 4 and cross. So let's find a quarter of 20 together. So we can write it at the top together first. 1/4 of 20 equals, and then draw our cross. And then I'm ready to meet you there. So we've got 1/4 of 20 equals is the same as, and then I've got my cross because it's for my 4 different sections, and then I'm just going to go round 1 in each section until I get to 20. Now, obviously it would be easier if I did like neat little circles and I spaced them out, but that's much harder for me to do like this. So I'm just going to do rough dots. And as long as they're not on top of each other, I'll still be able to see them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right, there we go. And then we've got to count how many are in each one. So there's 5 in here. And then I'm just going to check. Yep, there are 5 in there. Yep, there are 5 in there. And yes, there are 5 in there. So 1/4 of 20 equals 5. I just checked that there's the same number in each one because they need to be equal parts, don't they? Okay, so let's change our number and we'll do exactly the same method and we'll see if we can find a quarter of a different number. So this time let's do 1/4 of 16. Okay, so there we go. We've got 1/4 of 16. Well done. 1 in each going round until we get to 16. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, hang on. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There we go. And then I'm just going to join those 2 together so that I know that it was supposed to be like that. There we go. So I've got a 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. There we go. So 1/4 of 16 equals 4 because I only want 1 of the 4 sections. Wow. Do you know what? That's quite tricky and you did a really super job. So when it comes to fractions, what we have to remember is that we have a numerator and we have a denominator. Numerator is the top number, denominator is the bottom number. But basically, this just means of, and this tells me how many equal parts. So I just want 1 of them. There are 4 equal parts, 1 of 4 equal parts. you could have a practice and you could see some numbers will split really easily and some numbers won't. You'll have a little bit left over. The same with shape. You can carry on having a practice, but whatever you do the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye. Hi, so today we are going to have a little look at the life cycles of animals. So when we're talking about a life cycle, we're talking about how the whole cycle of life interconnects into each other. So I've got 3 examples for us to have a look at, and what I've done is created the little diagram and then I've put the pictures separate so that you can have a look, you can pause the video if you need to, and you can see if you can guess the order of the life cycle, and then we'll go through it and we'll have a chat as we go. So initially, we have this life cycle here. So this is the life cycle of a duck. Nice simple one, there are only 3 parts to it. The beauty of a life cycle is that it doesn't really matter where we start because it just goes round and round, and therefore we can put the first one anywhere we want. We'll start at the top just because it's logical. So have a look at the 3 pictures that are there. Which one do you think might come first? Which one do you think will come next? And how do you think that they will link? Now, I am going to start with the eggs. So let's pop the eggs in there. Now, ducks lay their eggs in a nest. They will then incubate those eggs for quite a long time, for more than 20 days. So it's nearly a whole month. They will incubate those eggs. They will keep them warm, and that is what will into embryos. Now, the eggs have to be fertilized in order to grow into duck. So not every duck egg will turn into a duck, but the ducks will sit on those eggs. They will incubate them, and then from those eggs we will get ducklings. So if you thought those cute little ducklings were the next picture, you were absolutely right. Now, in the process of hatching those ducklings, they will start with, they have a little nubbin, a little extra bit on the end of their beak when they're first born, and that is to help them crack through that egg. If you've ever cracked an egg, even just a chicken egg, then you'll know that they have quite tough shells. Now, they need quite tough shells to keep them safe while they're growing, while they're incubating, but that can prove a bit of a problem when they need to hatch out of those egg shells. So they have a little extra bit and they crack through the egg with their beak, and that will make a little tiny hole, and by this point they're probably quite tired, so they will wait a little bit longer before they crack further, and they will create bigger and bigger sections until the hole that they have created is big enough for them to come out of. They don't come out all fluffy and beautiful, they come out all gooey and horrible like all baby animals, but it doesn't take long for them to dry out, and then they will be looked after in the nest for a little while first. The first set of feathers that they have aren't necessarily as waterproof as the next set of feathers that come in, so they will be kept safe in the nest and fed in the nest. And then obviously they have to be taught to do everything, so they have to be taught to swim and to feed, and then once they know all of those things, and that's not very long, then they will stay with their family for a little while, and then they will go off and they will find families of their own. They will create families of their own. So from the duckling, we then have the duck, the fully grown duck. The duck that is in that picture there is a male duck. I can tell that because of his green head and his yellow bill. Not all ducks look the same. Female ducks, especially with this type of duck, female ducks are brown and a bit less interesting to look at. So it wouldn't be that duck that would lay the eggs, it would be the female duck that would lay the eggs. And then from there, the whole cycle will start again. Let's have a look at the next animal. So the next one is the life cycle of a butterfly. Now, a butterfly is an interesting life cycle because it doesn't start its life as a butterfly. Have a little look at the pictures and see if you can work out which ones come in which order, and then we will have a little chat about them along the way. Okay, let's start with the eggs. If you want a little bit longer, you can pause the video, that's absolutely fine. But let's start with the eggs at the top. So The eggs are on a leaf. You can see that that leaf looks absolutely massive. Therefore, it must be very zoomed in and the eggs must be very, very small. The eggs must also be sticky because if they weren't, how would they stay on the leaf? So there you go. There's a few interesting things about the eggs. What do you think will hatch from those eggs? You are absolutely correct. It is indeed a caterpillar. So a caterpillar will hatch from those eggs and it will go about its life munching, having a lovely time filling itself up. Caterpillars not very big and they like to eat lots of leaves. Not like the caterpillar in the story of the very hungry caterpillar who just liked to munch on everything. Normal caterpillars don't. They are herbivores. They just eat plants. So those caterpillars do lots and lots of munching and then they get to a stage where they're feeling very full like the caterpillar in the story did, and then they decide that it's time for them to create a cocoon. So this one here is the cocoon. The next one, the larvae will go into the cocoon and there it stays and it does its growing, has a good old sleep and does a lot of growing and resting and becoming stronger. And then when it emerges from the cocoon, it is a beautiful butterfly. Just in the story of the hungry caterpillar, which I read this week. And if you haven't heard the story of the hungry caterpillar, go and listen to it. It's a great way of hearing the majority of the life cycle, apart from the fact that you don't get past the caterpillar then laying more eggs at the end, but we get all the way through the rest of it, but with a fun little twist and a bit of imagination thrown in there. So if you haven't watched that, go and give it a watch. It's a really good story. So the life cycle of a caterpillar, we went from our eggs to our caterpillar to our larvae to our cocoon and then our butterfly that comes out at the end, and then the butterfly will lay the eggs and the whole cycle will start again. Let's have a look then at our last life cycle. Our last life cycle is a life cycle of a frog. So have a little look at the pictures here. There are a lot of pictures and a lot of arrows within this particular life cycle. Because there are lots of different stages to the life cycle of a frog. So have a little look. Let's see whether or not we can work out the order that we think that they go in. Remember that it doesn't necessarily matter which picture you start with because the whole thing is a cycle and therefore it will loop back around. As long as we have them in the right order, then it doesn't really matter where we start because it is one giant loop. So have a little look, a little nosy at the pictures and see if you can work out which order you think they go in and how you think they grow. And then we'll have a little chat about each stage of the process along the way. So I'm going to start by putting in this. It looks really weird. The first thing to say is that generally this is in water, generally near the edge where the frog believes it will be safe, but this is frog spawn. So frog spawn is a bit like jelly, and if you look very closely you'll see lots of little black dots inside that frog spawn. Those are effectively the little frog eggs. So they are in a thick jelly slimy substance to keep them safe from predators, and from there our frog spawn will hatch into tadpoles. So which one of our pictures do you think is of tadpoles? If you said more than one of them, you're absolutely right. But this one, where there are lots of tadpoles all together, is the next one, because this is just as it's starting to hatch. Remember, all of these animals have an incubation period. They all have a time where they are in this case, in the egg, while they're doing all their growing and getting ready to hatch. So this is just after, and you can see there are lots and lots of tadpoles here, and they are just a tiny little body and a tiny little tail, and that tail is what helps it to swim initially. Then, absolutely, they get bigger. So they still have that long tail, but the actual tadpole has grown, it is bigger, and then they will grow back legs. So then they grow their back legs. You can see that the head of this tadpole is growing. It's much bigger now. And you can see that they have grown back legs. And those back legs are what the frog will now use for swimming. We know that frogs don't swim with a tail. They swim with legs, with their back legs. And so at this point, the frog has developed those back legs. And next, it will turn into a froglet. So up until this point, it's still a tadpole. It will turn into a froglet, which is basically like what looks like a baby frog. It's what we would expect a baby frog to look like, just a smaller version. At that point, we have back legs, front legs will grow. And then once they have their back legs and their front legs, their hind legs and their forelegs, then its tail will slowly start to shrink until it's non-existent, until it doesn't have a tail. So the tadpole needed the tail in order to be able to swim, but the frog doesn't need the tail anymore because the frog has great swimming legs and it has webbed feet as well. So once the froglet has developed its legs and its feet and they are webbed and it is all good and ready for swimming, then that tail will shrink. And then we end up with the little froglet, which is what we would expect to see potentially and what we would associate as a baby version of the same animal because we would expect them to be similar. And then all that frog has to do is to grow up into an adult frog, and then the adult frog will lay frog spawn and the whole cycle will start again. So there are lots of different animal cycles. Things that have eggs are a really good place to start because they obviously lay those eggs and then the whole cycle begins. So those animals are a really good place to start. If you're going to explore, to have a look at how you think other animal cycles might work, you might do some investigation into that. That would be a really good place to start. But other animals do the same thing too. So you could look at doing life cycles of mammals and seeing whether or not they are similar or different to the life cycles that we've looked at today. Whatever you do with the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye.
Hello, Angel students. Today we are going to talk about tips in giving you the confidence to ask the questions that you want, that you need, that you require, and that you desire. I want you to have the confidence to ask anything that you want. So I'm going to give you my top tips in having the confidence to ask anything you want to ask, anytime you want to ask it. Sometimes we can feel as though what I have to ask isn't that important, or maybe my question is a silly one. There is no such thing as a silly question. There is no such thing as a good question, a question that is not good, the right question, the wrong question. There is no such thing, because a question is a question. It's a question. If you need the answer to the question, all it is a question. So try your best not to overthink what someone else is going to think about the question you're asking. You should be clear on why you're asking the question. You should know you're asking the question because you want an answer for a specific reason. So regardless of how you think someone else might judge your question, ask your question anyway. Your question is as important as any other question. I'll share a story with you about whether a question is good, bad, silly, not silly, because that will stop a lot of people from asking questions. In their head, you're having a whole conversation about whether you should ask or not. And a little while ago on social media, there was a young lady and she asked the question, what is maths? Maths. What is maths? Where did it come from? Where did we get maths from? And it didn't take long for a lot of people to make fun of her and just wonder why she asked this question. And that went on for some time until it caught the attention of a physicist and an astrophysicist. And then it came about that more physicists and more astrophysicists got involved in this conversation. And they said, this is actually a great question. This is actually an incredible question. And so all the other people that had been saying, oh, what kind of question is this? Who would ask that kind of question? They went very, very quiet, very, very quickly. So never allow the opinions of others to stop you from getting the information or the answers or the knowledge that you want or that you need. Okay, so how do we build up the confidence to ask the questions that we need to ask in any setting, at any time, with anyone? First one, remember everyone has questions. As we discussed in the last lesson, no one has all the answers because no one knows everything. Everyone has questions. It's a natural part of growing and evolving and learning. We are human beings. It's what humans do. We are curious and we learn by asking, we learn by doing, we learn by trying, we learn by practicing. Don't be afraid to join the Curiosity Club. The second tip for building confidence when asking questions is to start small. We have spoken in the past, mainly when it comes to tasks and to-do lists and so on, about doing things in bite-sized pieces. So the same can be said when it comes to asking questions. Start small. Start by perhaps first remembering the toddler that we spoke about in the last lesson that asks one of the most simplest, smallest questions that there is. Do you remember what that was? Why? 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 And that why can go on for quite some time. But I know that you are way more creative than to ask why 5 to 10 times. That you can start small. Your first question could be why, and then you can slowly expand on that. And a good way to practice asking questions is to ask questions about things that you are genuinely interested in, or a subject that you are particularly interested in knowing much more about. By doing this and getting the answers and learning more complex questions will naturally come to you. And number 3 is one of my favorites. Be brave. It's as simple as that. Be brave when asking your questions. I know that especially in front of other people, it does take courage to ask questions. But that's actually one of the best times that you can ask questions. Why? Because it's almost guaranteed that when you're around other people, or you're in a big group, or you're in a sitting where there are lots of other people, that at least one other person is so happy you asked that question because they too wanted to ask that same question, or they wanted to get the answer to that question, but they weren't quite as brave as you to ask the question. So you have actually helped other people by being brave enough to ask the question. It's important when being brave and challenging yourself to be brave to ask certain questions that you remember that being curious and asking questions is a strength. It's never a weakness. So if you remember that you are doing something that plays and adds to your strengths, you're more inclined to do it more, because that will exercise your muscle memory and allow you to do it with even more ease the next time and the next time and the next time. It just gets easier and easier and easier because you have built a very strong, brave muscle. And the 4th one is another favorite of mine, which is active listening. What do I mean by active listening, and how does that help to build confidence when asking questions? Well, when you ask a question, you're asking because you desire an answer. So the well-mannered and respectful thing to do is to give the person answering your question your undivided attention. Give them your focus so that they know you are listening. Imagine if it were the other way round and the tables were turned and they had asked you a question and it was quite clear to you that they weren't really listening to you. They're not really paying you any attention. They're not looking at you when you speak. They're doing other things. They could be distracted by something else. You're not going to feel heard. You're not going to feel that the knowledge that you're sharing by answering their question is even being appreciated. So give others that same level of good manners and respect, and pay them attention and appreciation by really listening to what they are saying when they are answering your question. If when they are answering you, something comes up and you're just not clear about it, allow them to finish and then gain clarity by asking further questions so that they can explain it and make it clear, so that by the end of the conversation you have left feeling completely content with the answers that you have been given, and you now know something new and you feel very confident with this new information that you have because they gave you a clear answer, and even when you weren't clear, you asked further questions. There is absolutely nothing wrong with asking for clarification. That is the sign of active listening, because you are listening to the answer that you are getting, but you are aware that you still need some more information to feel 100% confident that you understand the answer that you have received. That is perfect. That is how you ask questions to gain the knowledge that you need. And remember, chances are someone else has those same questions too. Number 5, celebrate your curiosity. It is a wonderful and amazing thing. We have spoken about the brain previously. Your brain emits and receives information. The fact that you have the ability to learn new things is a gift. There is so much knowledge out there, and this is why nobody knows everything and everybody is asking questions, because no one person can know everything. But this is why so many of us are blessed with different talents and skills and knowledge and information and ideas, and we get to share it with each other and impart and give those little bits, those bite-sized bits of information and answers to each other. So there are always connections being built. There are always little circuits of information being shared with everyone. So celebrate the questions that you ask and celebrate the answers that you get back. Show appreciation. Be grateful for your mind and your brain coming up with those clever questions. And if there are any moments where you feel as if you don't really know what to ask, or you don't know how to ask what it is you want to know, ask your brain for help. Ask your brain. Remember, your brain is there to keep you safe. Your brain is there to allow and help you to survive in the easiest and best way possible. So if you ask your brain a powerful, direct question like, how do I ask this question? And you pay attention, you actively listen, I guarantee that in some way, shape or form, you will get the perfect formula to ask the question in the best way so that you get a very clear answer. Try it, just try it, and that will give you something further to celebrate. Curiosity is a superpower. It is something that can lead you to amazing places, something that can create new ideas and worlds, and something that can create so many things, so many new things, so many new ideas. Asking questions is your secret weapon to your quest in gaining more knowledge. Ask questions boldly and watch the world unfold before your eyes. Keep questioning, keep learning, keep exploring, keep imagining, keep gaining clarity, keep growing knowledge, and remember that every single question matters, especially yours. So angel students, if there have ever been any questions that you've wanted to ask but you haven't quite felt as though you're comfortable asking, now is the time to do so. You have the tips to allow you to go and be brave and be bold and express yourself and celebrate your curiosity and ask those questions. And when you get the answers to the questions that you have, apply them, use them in whatever way makes sense to what the question was, we have questions for a reason. They come into our powerful brains and minds for a reason. Please don't waste it. So go forward, be brave, be bold, be confident in asking questions. And it is my hope you get the answers. Goodbye, Angel students.
Hi, Angel School. Follow me and do a quick warm up first. On foot wide, raise and ankles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep your elbow up. Hands reach out far as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Follow your elbow back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slightly bend your knees, relax your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shoulders down, head up, neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On your shoulders, full circle. 1, 2, 3. Change. 1, 2, 3. Relax your back. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lungs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. Now let's practice. Today we're gonna do the kick and the punch. So what we do is when we practice, before we do the routine, we're gonna do some stretching and kicking. Yeah? So first we're gonna do turning out weight, slightly bend your knees, 1 foot forward a little bit, and lean forward from your hips till you feel your hamstring stretching. Then use your breathing to stretch. 1, breathing in, breathing out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Change leg. Lean forward from your hips till you feel your hamstring stretching. When you feel your hamstring, focus on your breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and marble stretch. Pushing it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and one more stretch. 공부해야지. Front leg bend, back leg straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, change. One leg bend, one leg straight. 1, 2, 3. Use your breathing to stretch. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. So in the form, last time we did the marble changed combo, yeah. So marble changed combo. Yeah. So today we're gonna do the kick marble changed combo. For example, we are starting from here. So from here, marble change combo. Yeah. Then right hand out. Yeah, like a snake. 白蛇吐信. 1. When you kick your right leg. When you kick finish, like this, bend your knees. Then you step. Turn your body to the left. Then punch. So from here, you can do stand up a little bit. You don't have to go too low, yeah. You just practice next movement. 1, right hand up, kick your right leg. Your right leg forward, right hand block, or right elbow, and turn right, left hand punch. Yeah. So right hand block, left hand punch. Okay, let's do 3 more times. Kick your right hand up like snake. You can use a little bit of power if you want to. Yeah. Then kick. Then marble. Then punch. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay. 2 more times. 1, 2, then 3. And 1 more time. 1, 2, 3, then 4. Okay. So now we do exactly the same. Instead of you kick your right leg, and this time I'm going to do the left leg. So here, same, yeah? So you change to this side. Earlier your right hand out, this time your left hand out, and you kick your left leg. Then marble, left hand block, and right hand punch. Okay, let's do a few times together. So, punch. From here, left hand up, kick your left leg. When you kick finish, bend your knees, yeah? Now like this. Bend your knees. Then, left hand block. Yeah, left elbow. Then right hand punch. Yeah, so left hand to the left, right hand punch. Okay, let's do a few more times. Left hand, left leg. Then marble, then gombo. Yeah. 2 more times. 1, 2, marble, then punch. Last one. 1, left, then kick, then elbow, punch. Stop. Let's practice 3 breathing together. Remember, all the training we do is based on breathing, yeah? So we use the breathing for stretching, breathing for punching, breathing for kicking routines. So breathing in, 3 nose, so like good energy into your body. Then breathing out, relax your shoulders, elbow, hands push all the way down. 2 more times. Breathing in 3 nose, like a healing power to repair your body. And breathing out 3 nose, release the tension from your body. Last one. Okay, and let's finish here today.
Please like and subscribe so you can get more and more lessons.